Here we're going to look at a new tool on the tools panel over here, and it's called the gap tool. And this lets you adjust the size of the gap between images. Let's see how that works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick up 6 images here, and I think I've already got them selected here. Just drag them onto the page like this. There's 6 images. And using the gridify feature that we saw in the last movie, I'm going to create a grid of 3 by 2. Like that, get them approximately the size I want them. Close this up, and then I am going to come up here and choose fill frame proportionally. Now, before we really get into it, I am going to just show you where it doesn't make sense. So I'm going to select the gap tool here and just press and drag down like that. And you can see how it changed those without those, and that really doesn't make too much sense. So one feature you're going to want to select on this one here is this new feature we looked at in the last movie, and that's auto fit. And that means that when we resize any of these frames, the graphic within them is going to auto fit within them. So now when we use the gap tool and place it here, now you'll notice that when I go in between 2 frames, that a little gray area covers up the gap. And I press and drag down. Now look at it. A lot different now. You can see how it's resizing all the images to fit within the frame. I'll undo that. And we can do it on this side as well. Press and drag. These ones come out. And because I had the automatic frame resizing done, this resizes within the frame as well, as does these 2. We can do it to the sides as well. So I can move that over there, take this one, move it back to that frame. I'll move it back to my border here like this, coming up here, drag that one, adjust this frame like that. It's a really cool feature. Now, there are some modifying keys here that we can use to do it. First of all, let me just go into the preview mode. It's just things look a little nicer when I do that. And I am going to hold down the command key when I do this. Command or control on the PC, and drag like that. Now there you can see, instead of changing the frame sizes per se, I'm changing the size of the gap. I'll undo that, and of course I can do it vertically, holding down the control or command key. Undo. Now if I hold down the option key like that, I get to move the graphics without changing the gap. Look at that. That gap moves down. So I'm repositioning the gap on the page. Notice, because there's only one gap along this horizontal axis, everything moves along, whereas if I use the vertical one, hold down the option or alt key like that, then I just move the gap to a different position. I'll undo it. And then we'll look at one more option, and this one here is really good. You hold down the shift key and you can resize just this gap. Now let me just zoom in a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing here. Now notice here we have the gray area where the gap tool is. If I hold down the shift key, I only have the gray area between 2 images. So as I drag across there, you can see that I'm changing that gap. I can come down here, change this one. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that one, but I could do this one out like this, and this one here I could definitely resize like that. The nice thing about this, I'm keeping this gap the same width every time, and unless of course I hold down the command key to change that, this is going to be consistent, and there we get this very nice pattern within it. The important thing, as I said, to remember, if you want to use this feature, make sure you have auto fit selected for all your images. Otherwise it just doesn't really work properly.